We're live on Facebook.
Welcome to the 101, brought to you by Whiteside Chrysler Dodge Jeep. I'm Michael Morris. Dr. Ryan Brown is en route. He was with a client, but we have some exciting people here today that I've already talked to for a few minutes in the green room. The ladies from Route 23, Leah Monahan and Bob Stauffer. I got that right, or did I blow it?
No, it's Barb Stauffer. Yeah.
Okay, good, because I like to hack up people's names as soon as we start. Even if it's Smith, I go, is it Smitey? I'm excited to have you guys on because you are a friend of the tribe. You're a friend of Jackie Murphy, so we just keep loading up on that. Shout out to Jackie Murphy for this. Can you guys, I can't do justice to the product that you guys do. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to give a little background on yourselves. Barb, you start first. Every single day other than Route 23, what do you do? Do you have kids? Do you have a family? What's going on?
I do. I have 3 kids at home, which keep me very busy between all their activities. So when we started Route 23, that was part of the reason why I wanted to start my own business, was to have the flexibility to work around their schedules.
Leah, how about you?
I have 2 kids at home as well. I always say I have 2 kids, but they play sports for 4 and do
Right.
activities for 4. So I'm also very busy. We're always, every night we're going this way and that. So we do have that flexibility. We like to get most of our Route 23 work done between the hours of 8 and 2:45, and sometimes we're having conference calls in school parking lots, but we managed to get it done. And
But that's what's so cool about this, because we're going to talk about how this whole concept started.
Yeah.
Dr. Ryan Brown is here. Doc, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
You honestly didn't miss that much yet.
No?
So we talked about this. I was trying to think of how do 2 people that are from 2 different hometowns get together and they are entrepreneurs. Tell people how you guys started this business. What was the concept developed and where?
well, we started exactly 5 years ago this month, and we were in the parking lot at our kids' school waiting for the kids. We all kind of stand in this cluster and everybody chit-chats, and Barb and I were chit-chatting and talking about how we both made smoothies for our kids, and we would freeze them into popsicles with the leftovers, and they would like that as a treat. We got to talking and kind of evolved and thought, well, maybe that would be a great business idea. We could make these popsicles and maybe some adult-oriented flavors and sell them at farmers markets, and it kind of just morphed from there. And so that month and the next month, we were making smoothies and popsicles in my kitchen and freezing them. The kids come home and try it. Our husbands would try it. And then my husband has a background in food. He works in the food industry, and he cautioned us that frozen food distribution is really tough. And we were also thinking at the same time that all of our flavor combinations, when we would make the bases, we'd say, ooh, that'd be really good with bourbon, or we could add that, with some vodka. And at that point, we just kind of decided to change our thinking and pivot, and we decided to do simple syrups and mixers.
We were creating flavored simple syrups to get the herbal flavors into the popsicles already. So it was a real easy transition to just take those flavor combinations and move them into the syrup then. So,
But this all started basically in the parking lot of a school.
Yes.
talking about it, yeah.
Yep.
What I like is that you took this to the next level where you were going to say, well, let's try it. So when you come up with the concept, what's the first thought? Like, we're going to make this for our kids, or we're just going to see what this is? Are you just playing around with it because it's fun?
And originally it was for our kids.
Yeah.
Just to come up with an all-natural treat. Like, there weren't many at the time. There weren't many all-natural popsicles out there and fun flavor combos. So that's how it started. And then as we were doing it, we're like, well, let's try and maybe sell these at farmers markets. And as the process went on, and we switched to the idea of just doing the syrups, we then had a party with a whole bunch of the moms from the kids' school. And
Which is always the way to get it done.
it was
Invite
great
a bunch of
focus
ladies
group.
that have kids.
Yeah.
They'll give you the feedback.
And they were
Who
honest.
needs to drink more than a bunch of moms, right? I mean, yeah,
I saw an episode of Desperate Housewives. I understand that. That's what
Yeah.
they need.
yeah.
I also, now that Ryan's here, I want to ask him, he has not seen this, right? Ryan, how do you think you spell Route 23? Leave the 23 off, that's the easy part.
Root. ROOT.
Right.
Way to go.
Here's what I thought, because somebody verbally told me their name. being from Grove City, I thought they meant Route 23.
Right.
So I was looking for, there is a restaurant called Route 23, so I could not find, I'm doing all my
But
research.
being here
on
in the
it.
Midwest, it's route.
I get it, but no. No. In Grove City, it's Route. So if you want to go to Route 62, that's what I was looking for. And I thought this has something to do with a road, but it
Right.
technically does, right?
It does. It was a play on words. A night of drinking with our husbands, brainstorming for a company name, and it came up because it was a play on words. We live in Clintonville, so it's right on Route 23. It's all natural, so we just
Route
combined the two.
23, see that? Route 23.
Yeah, but they're doing it like the hillbillies that I grew up with would say route. I was so excited because I thought I've got this thing down, and it was a Mexican restaurant on East Main Street. Totally not the right people. So tell me, you get this idea, you kind of have your own focus group, whether intentional or not. And then what's your next step? What's the first thought you have is we're going to start doing this in our garage? Where are you doing this?
Well, from that focus group, and that we had laid out about 15 flavors and let them just go to town mixing drinks and telling us their thoughts on them, that helped us narrow down to our initial assortment of 4 flavors. And that's when the R&D really started. That's when we started researching places that we could produce it. We had to get licensing. We had to get Serve Safe certification. I had to take a class from University of California. So it was a long process from there, sourcing bottles. We just kind of figured it out as we went. We set up a lot of meetings with other local entrepreneurs who had already been through these challenges, and we got nuggets of information from each one of them as the next steps of what we need to think of that we hadn't already been thinking of, and that helped guide our path.
Was there a flavor that you individually liked a lot and it didn't pass the focus
There were a few of them that we thought were going to be
Some
really
we were really
popular.
surprised by. Some that people didn't even touch. There was it was a lemon lavender, was that one? Or vanilla lavender. I can't remember. There was a couple that
vanilla
were
mint,
really
yeah.
tasty and people just weren't drawn to, and that really just helped us because if they weren't drawn to it just by seeing the flavor combination, we knew that customers in stores probably wouldn't be either, so that really helped
And
us.
there is one flavor, we did another focus group later on as we were introducing another flavor in another season. There's one flavor that we really loved the sound of, we liked the combo, and everybody gravitated to that as well initially, but then they didn't like it enough to make a second drink with it. They went on to others. And that was just as valuable because it's great if people like it and buy it off the shelf once, but you want them to come back more.
Right.
So
Well, that's the toughest thing. I remember when City Barbecue started, before they even had a store, Rick would feed us in his backyard. And I don't mean like he lived in Muirfield. It wasn't like we were sitting on like lawn furniture, but he made the most amazing onion rings that you've ever had that have never been on the menu because he liked them. No one's ever had these things, but they're probably the best thing on the market. That's why I was curious. There's got to be something that you guys had and you're like, why don't people get this?
Yeah.
But it's not about you, right? It's about the person that's going to consume this stuff. And you have to make that decision. I just didn't know that there's something where in the back of your head you're like, I know this one, right?
Yeah.
Ryan, I don't want to hog all the mic time, and I know that you like to drink because half of your stories about people you met in entrepreneurship are wrestling someone outside of a bar.
I mean, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, we've only had 4 of those people on the show. That's why I'm
True.
bringing it up. All your best buddies are people that you wrestled for money outside of a night of drinking, and they own companies.
yeah, you know, they got a zest for life. I
Yeah.
would say.
So when you get to this point, you really have a weird schedule, right? Because you can only work inside these few hours. And I know, Leah, you've got to leave because you have some other work to do after we're done with this. You have a crazy work-life schedule. When did you make time to talk to bottlers, to talk to people to do labels? I know you had the inside track on a website. That's what was told to me. But how do you allocate that time to have these conversations to do this?
it honestly just happens in between. Like she said, we allot a lot of time during the school day. We get as much done as we can during those hours. But honestly, we're working throughout the afternoon, the evening, into late night, early morning. It's in between if I'm sitting in a parking lot waiting for somebody to get done with the practice, or if I'm sitting at halftime during my kids' game, I'll go in the car and I'll have phone calls. We're kind of checking email, just like anybody else nowadays. With modern technology. You're working whenever you can.
But do you look at it that way as though it's work? Like,
Sometimes,
I mean, there's got to be times where you're like, I wish I could shut this phone off, and you just can't.
definitely.
But do you feel like you're missing out? Because one of the things is that work-life balance, right? So you have people that, if you listen to Gary Vee or Dan Pena, they'll say there is no such thing as work-life balance. And you never see them with pictures of their kids. And then you have other people that are saying, like a Simon Sinek, that your life is supposed to be about what you're doing, the people around you, and giving back. Where do you guys find yourself at this point? Because you've been doing this long enough that there's probably a pattern of behavior that you're like, I'm comfortable with this. But do you ever find yourself missing out?
Well, I think one of the great things about what we're doing is a lot of times we include our family in what we're doing. So when we especially when we first started out, and even still, the kids have been a big part of it. Like, they have helped us label bottles. We bring them together, and we'll say, okay, here's $20. Go buy some Starbucks. Come back, and you're gonna load sampler pack boxes, the box that we gave you.
So they can, for $20, they can get one Starbucks.
Well, we have 5 kids, right? Yeah. So then they'll all 5 of them will share it. But then so we'll do that. The kids do farmers markets with us. This Sunday I'm doing a cocktail convention down at the Joseph, and my husband's gonna come with me, and we do that. It's kind of like, I mean, it's lame, but it's like a date day, or a date evening, and because we have fun, you talk to people, and I don't know. So we do this, so we kind of do it that way. So that's been good.
And honestly, if it weren't for having this flexibility of working around those, we might be missing out on some of the activities with the kids. So it feels like you're working nonstop, which we kind of are, but we're doing it because in between those phone calls, we can sit and watch a game, or we can be the driver in the carpool and not have to stress over how I'm going to get off work to do that. We can work our meetings around our schedule, which is really valuable.
Well,
And I think
technology
because
has
we both-
changed that
right.
so much, right?
Yeah.
So you're not really missing out, but you also can't unplug.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that because we both value the time that we have with the kids and our husbands and our family, that we do recognize that like we're not going to be.
There are some things we turn down, some
Yeah.
activities that we turn down. We haven't, some farmers markets we would love to be a part of on a weekly basis, and we've made that choice to do it once a month because we want to be able to go to our kids' game on the other Saturdays, so we have set priorities on what we're willing to give up and how much we want to dedicate.
Ryan, you know all about having to answer the phone 24 hours a day. How do you feel about work-life balance?
Well, I mean, my favorite subject is trying to figure out how to keep your vibration high. How to keep your mental attitude in such that, you're happy, you're positive. And whether you work for somebody, whether you work for yourself, in my opinion, that's the most important thing, is focusing on, joy, fun, happiness, positivity, all these wonderful things that I feel like we're here for. And when you get overwhelmed and you have a million things going on, whether that's family, whether that's customers, whatever, my fascination is how do we keep ourselves focused on that prize and keep ourselves happy, keep ourselves inspired and motivated. And so I always like to ask, people that we have on and people I work with, what is it that you do? Are there certain books? Is it church? Is it, do you have mentors? Do you listen to MP3s and audios? What keeps your mind right, so to speak?
My biggest passion is travel, so for me it's ensuring that we have regular time away as a family, and I have that planning that goes into it, and just I feel like when we do remove ourselves from the everyday life, you get the best quality time you can have.
You got that light at the end of the tunnel, like, all right, July 4th, we're going away for 2 weeks or whatever it is. Something to look forward to, a place to kind of cleanse everything.
Right.
That's cool.
How's that work, though? If you're traveling and then you go, Leah, I'm going to be gone for 7 days, I'm not going to answer any calls.
It usually works out that we're not gone at the same time. But again, I mean, like I said, you can do everything remotely. And we've had brand ambassadors, we have people working for us who've been able to help. And
do you find yourselves, when you are able to get away, even if it's for a long weekend, do you find yourselves hiding the phone in the computer? Or do you find that that's still part of you and you're answering to people and doing stuff?
I think I try to set it aside the best I can and realize that most things aren't urgent. Most things can wait a day or two, or it's rare that both of us are so busy or gone at the same time, like she said, that usually the other one tries to really take over for those couple days. Or the
Well, I found that like being an entrepreneur, that's kind of the fun, exciting part. Like even if I'm on a vacation or if I'm going to visit family for a weekend or whatever, if I'm working for someone else and it's somebody else's deadline or the deadline they're putting on me and I'm having to, answer to somebody, then it can feel like work and stress. But it can be fun to be, even if you're wherever you are, like you said, with media. I'm sorry.
No, you can
social
say media. Media is cool.
media. Technology is the word I was looking for. We have the ability to work from somewhere else and to be able to, bring your laptop with you and place orders and do things and help customers and work on, customer service issues while you're enjoying yourself on a lake somewhere.
Well, the funny thing is too, our product is, relates into any market that we go to. So I have a tendency, I think you do as well. We take samples where we go, and
Right.
we've made sales calls on our vacations, and it's really paid off.
Are you doing that
but
for the
it's
tax
fun.
write-off? Because that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, I met with brokers. I went to Charlotte, and so I said, we're going to write this off. I hope the IRS isn't listening to this, but I think that's valid.
They're not. They're busy.
When you're on the
driving.
airplane and they're like, "Is this business or pleasure?" You're like, "Hey, both."
A little bit of both.
Because my
right?
business is my pleasure.
Yeah.
I learned that from my buddy Tracy that works at Myers Jeweler. He sells watches, and he'll literally go on a cruise, but he'll meet with the cruise director and just say, "Hey, are you looking to book a van? No. Cool. Here's my business card." And I just thought, Tracy, that's not going to work every single time, and yet he does write it off. So
Yeah.
just a little tip out there: if you want to get arrested by the IRS, do that.
Right.
Well, you gotta have your vocation has to be your vacation.
Okay. What? Don't ever.
You ever
say
heard that before? Come on.
Of course I've heard that. It's just you threw that in there, and I was about to go somewhere else.
Oh.
I want to talk about the first sale that you made. What was the first sale? Like, do you remember it, or was it just by accident? Somebody in a parking lot.
Yeah, it was. We had produced our first batch the week before the kids got out of school, so that was just like 4 years ago. It was in May of 2015, and so Barb and I dropped the kids off. That it was like the last day they were in school all day, and we sat in the parking lot, and we're like, we gave us this little pep talk. We're like, we're gonna get a lot of no's. We just need one yes. And then we hit the road, and we went to Wyland's first because it's right at the end of our street. And
they were really helpful in helping us
Yeah.
pick our bottles and get us
yeah.
prepared to the
So,
point to sell
yeah.
too.
So they bought their first mixed case, and then we went around town. We went to Hills and Barrel and Bottle and
Huffman's and
yeah,
Chateau.
Huffman, yeah, and everyone said yes. And so next day we went out and delivered, and that was the rest was history.
We weren't sure what to expect, and then within a week or two, we were getting calls for reorders. So then suddenly we were like, "Oh no, we need to produce more.
Yeah.
We didn't expect."
Well, that was my
expect this so
my
fast."
next question. Is did you feel like people were like, "Yes, I need it, and I need it in huge amounts," and you're like, "Wait, I only have like 10 more in my garage or something."
It's grown very organically. When we first started this, and we were thinking of producing, we figured we'd buy a few cases of bottles. We didn't expect to buy a lot, but we had to buy them by the pallet. So we kind of were freaking out, thinking Plan B, we'll be selling these on eBay by Christmas time.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
There'll
the
be
funny thing was
gifts for
us
people that don't
getting
like-
the bottles, though. That was a funny
Yeah,
story.
we didn't even have a place to deliver a pallet of bottles at the time, so we had to drive to Dayton, have them delivered there, and
It was
load up
somebody-
our minivans. Like,
someone that my husband knew was willing to purchase it, and then she and I each drove our minivan, and our
we're riding
minivan.
very low on the way back.
I'm surprised we didn't get pulled. That somebody thought we were drug mules because our vans were riding so low, and it was scary.
But so after those first couple weeks of sales, we just went into hypermodal summer, and we'd be in the kitchen. What's the 1400 Food Lab now? It was commissary at the time. We'd go in at 4 a.m. We'd do a batch of syrups, and then get home before our husbands went to work, so we could be with the kids during the day. And then we'd sit around the table and label them at night, and do a little production line of labeling and date stamping, and we were doing that all summer long. And then Christmas time came, and it was just, by that point we brought out our smaller bottles into our sampler packs, and it was a crazy first 6 to 9 months of trying to keep up with the demand. So
Were there days that you just thought, "What did we get ourselves into?"
Yeah.
it was exciting too, though,
It
because
was.
I think
I don't mean that in a negative way, but
Yeah.
it's like Ryan and I had this conversation a few weeks ago with somebody where it was like, all you're trying to do, like you said, I just need one no. I can take 20 or one yes, or I can take 20 no's if I get that one. But when you get yes after yes after yes, you keep going because of the momentum, and you get that little dopamine, and you're just like, this is going to be great. And then you go back and go, what did I just sell, and what do I have to do, right? Because It's not the initial sale. It's now I've got to deliver on what I said,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now I've given myself a job.
Right.
Started it with a
Yeah.
concept, and now it's a job. What was that like, when you're getting those first reorders? Because you probably had like 5 or 6 people reordering, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like we were saying, we were having to go in and produce more, and that was scary. But that summer, we met a buyer from Giant Eagle, and he wanted us in their Giant Eagle Market District store. So that happened. So then Barb and I, not just these little mom and pops, now we're in the Giant Eagle store. So we were having to drive our product to Cleveland, and we were pulling up to the loading dock in the back.
And our
Everybody
minivans?
else is has a semi truck, and we've got the minivan, and you're taking in your 2 or 3 boxes. And so we were
Looking
driving to
super
Carmel,
professional.
Indiana, Cleveland, so we were going all over with that. So that was craziness. We got into a couple more stores in Indiana at the same time. So we were making loops around Indianapolis to Cincinnati, and all trying to get that done before 2:30 in the afternoon. So
Right.
we'd maybe leave at like 5 in the morning. So that it was crazy. So we were doing that. Yeah. So that was feeling like that whole was like the hamster wheel. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, this is. At that point, we kind of knew that we either needed distribution or someone to manufacture for us, or both.
We couldn't do it all.
Yeah. So.
When do you get? Well, we're gonna come up on a
Yeah.
break, so I want to start that question after the fact. Can you tell people? I guess we didn't really even describe what it is, but give people your sales pitch on what this is and how they can get some of it.
It's an all-natural flavored simple syrup that you can use to flavor your cocktails, your mocktails, even make homemade sodas or add it to coffee, iced tea, lemonade. You can get it in stores or online if you go to our website, root23.com. That's ROOT23.com.
Thank you very much.
It has a list of all the locations that sell our products, and we're actually in 15 states now, about 150 stores, so you can find it fairly easily in this area.
Is that you guys on Amazon as well?
We are on Amazon.
Yeah,
They're all over the place.
yeah. You just Google Route 23 and it pops up everywhere.
Yeah, we were
Without
the
the E.
number 1 mixer for 4th quarter last year
On
on Amazon.
That's gonna feel fantastic
It does.
because you
Yeah.
really haven't scratched the surface with this yet, and you're already winning all the way around.
We're gonna see it on Shark Tank.
People have been asking us that since
This
day
is like the
one.
perfect Shark Tank.
I know, but then you sell to Shark Tank, and then you really now work for the person that bought it. Like they're in charge.
Yeah, you're giving them
Not if you
some of
keep
your
the
business
majority.
away. Yeah.
But still, you got to meet their production deadline. So if Mark Cuban buys it and he says, "Hey, guess what? You're going to be in 1,000 WalMarts, but you got to meet this production demand." Now they work for it. They can own the majority of it, but now you really work for him.
But the
'Cause
bonus is he'd have the connections for the
Yeah, you
people
have
that would be able to
manufacturing,
produce it.
distribution.
I like the 4 ways you said that. That was amazing. Any way you go, it was
been a long day.
distribution. Yeah. Again, I think this is a super cool thing because when somebody comes to us from Jackie Murphy, you never know what you got. Like they're going to be cool people, but we just don't know what they do. But this is a cool story that it started in a parking lot, like over your kids. Imagine if you didn't have kids, you'd both be working for somebody else.
Right.
That's true.
It would be very different.
When we come back, though, what I want to talk about is I want to get into the distribution part. And I want to get into, it seems like you just won at every level. There had to be a part where you struggled.
Oh, there's been challenges.
Okay, good, because I thought the way you looked at me, I thought you were going to say, no, everything went great. It was fantastic.
Entrepreneurship's easy.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the worst show to do because somebody's listening and go, oh, I'll just quit my job today. It'll be fine.
You should.
I'll tell you what, we're going to go to break right now, but when we come back, that's what we're going to get into. You're listening to the 101 brought to you by Whiteside Chrysler Dodge Jeep. All right, well done. Right now, good for you.
I'm Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Nice to
I'm
meet you
Barb.
guys.
I'm Leah.
Nice to see you.
Dr.
Yes,
Ryan.
we normally do introductions before we start.
Are you really a doctor?
I am. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor.
PhD?
Yeah.
In what?
Physics.
Oh.
Yeah. I can tell you some numbers and equations, quantums and particles.
Nice.
Like Sheldon in the Big Bang.
That's right, yo.
No, right outside, we're on Kenny,
Staples, the accident.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I
That
I
was
sat
it
there
you?
forever.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I went through the parking lot to get
Yeah. It was. when
Where's
they
there a
were-
wreck on Kenny there at Old Henderson?
a bad one. Yeah.
Oh,
the
I
front,
missed
the front
that.
end of that car.
And that's when I was sitting behind, like,
Oh, I was on 315 coming from Grove City, and then I just got off on Dublin Road, and then that
Well, I
was
think
it.
it might have
Did you
just had.
take
You might have.
Henderson?
I
Well, if
took
they saw it,
Henderson.
they might.
Oh.
No, it's been there because 315's all back
It
up.
I
must
must
have
have been
happened
back
right
from the
before I
cleanup or
hit there,
something.
cause
You
I
guys
was
live
coming
in
up to work.
Clintonville, you probably
Yeah.
cruised over Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I came from.
Yeah, the other way is Broadway,
Mhm.
North Broadway.
Yeah, it must have happened just right before, cause I was sitting at that light, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get through, so then I went around. Maybe they had it cleaned off to the side, but that's weird, I wasn't that
So,
much before.
I'll just get
No, I didn't even see any like lights or anything.
That's weird.
I just saw ambulances passing me on the left, but I didn't know what was going on.
I saw Superman, but it's weird.
The
It was out of the
movie?
corner of my eye. No,
Oh.
just
I was gonna say, you shouldn't be watching that in the middle of the day. It's a
he gets
Thursday.
excited by superheroes. So
I absolutely do. I
Like,
told him,
he's like,
I
what?
told him I'd have been wearing a superhero shirt today.
Yeah, you're not.
He's wearing a
I
plaid
have
like me.
people to meet. Yeah, I'm the professional one here. All right, Jimmy.
No,
are you
he's
ready?
he's hardly ever dressed like that. He must,
2 days in a row. I don't know
this
what's
is his,
happening.
Got a haircut too.
I know.
Oh man, I just put it all.
I don't even know you anymore.
this is his
I know,
like
that's
Nirvana
it.
Pearl
Yeah.
Jam look,
We
the
have a
grunge.
lot of people to talk to.
the grunge look.
It's
Yeah,
coming
this
back.
is 1990s, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, you ready, Jim?
Yep, here we go.
Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Whiteside Chrysler Dodge Jeep. I'm Michael Morris. With me now, Dr. Ryan Brown and our
Hola.
friends from Route 23. Ryan, you wanted to get into something we talked about during the break. Jump in right now.
Well, with my business and what I've done my whole life dealing with sales and marketing, and that end of it, I see so many people that get into entrepreneurship and they have a great idea, they have a great product even, or like we had last week, people that really deal with the back end on production and then somehow they develop their own product. And has it been, I was going to say, has it been a struggle dealing with sales, but you just told us you got yes when you were expecting some no's.
Yeah, it was kind of hurting my feelings.
I
I'm
need
like,
that
you got
sales
no bad news?
Well, that's good. That means you have a good product and people like you, which is, part of the battle there. But when it comes to like actual sales and marketing, have you guys found issues there, or have you found like stuff that really works? Was it trial and error? Like most people, that's the part you have to learn. Like with my business, I have great products and I have great people behind it. But if I don't have customers, it's not that they don't like they may love my product, but how do I get it in front of people and have actual customers that can say yes? What's been your challenge there, or what's been your, how do you do that?
I'm sure they won at every level, but I would love there had to be one bad thing.
We have had. I'll tell you one retailer that we can't crack is Heinen's up in Cleveland.
Do they just say
And
no, or you can't even get in front of them?
A little bit of both.
We've had a number of their customers say they want our products in the stores, and it's just some people have a hard time understanding what a simple syrup is still. So I think that's part of the challenge on the end customer base. Even like at farmers markets, it's helpful to be able to sample it for people so they understand how they can use it, things like that. And you don't always get that opportunity if you're not face to face with some of the big retailers to help them understand.
Well, that's
it
kind
as
of what
well.
I was wondering, because if I haven't heard of your business or your company, and if I'm looking at it and I'm like, I just pulled it up online and I'm going, what is it? Is it? And obviously you can explain that. And there's a lot of products you can't just sit on the shelf, and people walk by in the store and they see it and they go, oh, I know what this is. So that's where the marketing comes in, commercials and all that, which is of course a huge budget and costs a lot of money.
Right.
Has that been your biggest challenge, is just explaining what it is?
I think so, because we don't have that big marketing budget. So for us, it everything has just grown organically, and doing small demos in stores and supporting the stores the best we can, doing farmers markets to educate customers so then they go to the stores. So I do think that probably would be.
Have you guys ever thought of, and this is kind of fascinating because it's just going through my head right now, a lot of products that I see that are multi-level marketing that kind of go that route, where you say you have the little parties, like you said, you invite all the moms over and you have a little party and somebody does a demonstration and then they all show their friends and you pay that way. Has that ever been a thought?
We have actually thought about that, but we really haven't, other than just kind of casually talking. We've never really thought.
Pursue that route.
Because that's a
true, yeah.
huge business plan,
Direct
and it's some of the most successful companies in the entire world are run that way, with products that you can't set on a shelf for that reason.
The only problem I see with that model for them, and this is just free advice, is that when you're trying to get into a big retailer, the reason those multi-level marketing things can't get in there is because they get that reputation like it's just moms selling to other moms, whereas their product, because they haven't done that, they're not set in that category where it's like, you know, my aunt was at a party and they bought your stuff. It takes the novelty of that away, because their thing right now, if I look at the website, and I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying my personal opinion in terms of marketing the thing. There's something called Sparks. Have you ever heard of it? Spark, whatever.
That's a Advocare product.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I could get that from 30 people before I leave this station
Right.
today because it's in somebody's desk drawer. I can't with theirs. So
Well,
I
I
have
think
to
that that's
actually
the whole point, is people that want to go, you pick one way or the other. You go, hey, I'm
Right.
going to go multi-level marketing, that's my business plan, and I realize I'm probably never going to be on a Walmart shelf. But that's a reason they're not on a Walmart shelf, because people walk by and they don't know what it is.
I'm not trashing one way or the
No,
other. I'm just
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
and they're,
Quit getting so defensive.
well, I mean, you come in late and you rile me up. No, I'm just saying, when I look at this, the way it's packaged, like if you look at their website, their packaging looks like a national product.
Absolutely.
And that was what impresses me the most, is even if they only had 4 and they just took a picture of it, it looks super legit. That's what I think they had the difference in the multi-level marketing versus what they do. I think customer demand, that's how you get shelf space, is somebody really wants this product. And it's a different world than it was, say, 20 years ago, because you could go into a store and you could get what's called an end cap, but you had to pay for that end cap, and if it didn't sell, it didn't matter, you paid for it. There is no more end cap, because the Pepsis and everybody else have said, we're just going to buy the end caps and we're going to have the inside of the aisle. So it is a tougher market. However, being able to sell direct to customers through a website, that's where the money is.
Our biggest issue is shipping, the cost of shipping, because they're heavy.
When still, and you still
bottles.
have to get people to go to the website.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm saying there is, when you look at the circle, there's 2 ways to go.
Right.
I just personally look at your stuff and say that is such a high quality. I haven't even had what's in the, I mean, I'm going to drink this Monster until I have a heart attack, but when I see that stuff, I go, I would want it just from the packaging and just from the way the website is done. So if I was a retailer, you guys have done 80% of the work. It's a matter of fighting to get them to see you face to face. But if they do see you, there's a story behind it. That's why we do this show, is the story behind everybody's journey, because retailers.
Perfect for multi-level marketing.
Right. So
But
now you're going to do that with Ryan, and you're going to sell Tupperware.
No, I mean, multi-level marketing does turn a lot of people off, but most of the products out there that are through multi-level marketing, or I shouldn't even say multi-level marketing, it's actually
There's a
network.
difference.
It's network marketing.
Right.
It's really what it is. It's not pyramid schemes. That's what people think of, because there's been a lot of companies that ruin it for everybody. But really, network marketing is a way to sell. It's like franchising or anything else. So you have other people do all the work for you, but it's also education based, and there's a story. And some of the best products out there are sold that way. But the question that I would have then also is, when it comes to distributing and getting that out there, what's your plans for that? Like, how are you going to? Because the price goes up, right, when you do that?
Right, we did have to make a price adjustment early on, because once we started working with the distributor, we hadn't factored in that extra cost, because we hadn't anticipated growth that fast, to be
Well,
honest.
I'm sure they didn't tell you either, right? They probably thought, oh, we're just going to pass this
Well,
cost
we
on.
had
send it over to China,
we were
call it a day.
working at the time that was happening. We had started working with a co-manufacturer, and he was kind of helping us to figure out our pricing structure, because you have to work in a margin for the distributor, and then the distributor has to be able to then mark it up for the retailer, and then the retailer has to, so you have to plan accordingly. So he helped us kind of work through that a little bit, so we were able to understand that. So you've got all these people taking cuts along the way, and so that's tricky. But the one distributor that we have gotten in with, they have really helped us grow our business, and that's what's really helped us expand to the 14-state radius that they're in. And then we have some stores that we ship to in Massachusetts and Texas and Alabama. So we do that where we'll just ship directly to that store. And so we're in a period of transition right now. We're changing our bottle size, because one of the things that has changed from our customer feedback we've gotten when we're out at demos or at farmers markets is that we have a 12.7 ounce bottle. And a lot of customers say that can be really hard to get through, because it's an all-natural product, so it's minimally preserved. So once you open it, it's good in the refrigerator for about 4 weeks. And a lot of customers say, like, unless you're a heavy drinker or you're having parties a lot, it can be hard to go through.
So Ryan would go through one in about
In
2
a day,
hours.
right, yes.
Got it.
Yep, he just can chug it, you know. But so we're shrinking our packaging down to like a 6.8 ounce bottle, and we're gonna bring the price point down, hopefully for retail just below $10. And so I think that's gonna help move our product faster, so people will be able to turn around and buy more frequently. They might buy a couple. So that's kind of what we're doing based
That
on
seems very
customer.
logical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like everybody's products nowadays are getting smaller and smaller, almost for that reason.
Yeah.
Well, they call it less is more. Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
So
That's
instead, yeah,
I
it's,
need smaller windows.
well, that might work if you're not concerned about a draft. But if you, the concept in branding was this less is more, and they've done it across the board. It is, you don't need as much of that product, but we're going to charge you less. Well, they're still charging 35% more. I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying if you look at a cereal box, that box got smaller, but the price got smaller. The price didn't come down commensurate with the size of what you're actually getting.
Right.
So you have to be careful, because you're not passing it on to the consumer, but if you could price yourself out of profitability if you're not keeping up.
When I was gonna say price yourself out of competition, which brings up the question: do you guys have competition in this space? I mean, is there somebody out there
Yeah.
that's doing the same thing?
When we first started, there was very little.
There was a
and
few.
Right, and since then, there's definitely been more that have come up. We haven't seen many that are similar in concept to ours. A lot of them are mixers, not just the simple syrups, the flavored simple syrups. So ours are really the possibilities are endless with it. We're not guiding people into one type of drink or whatever.
Well,
you can use it for a mocktail. You can use it with sparkling water and just make a homemade soda. You can make any type of cocktail. Maybe with this one flavor, you can do it with 4 different types of spirits and have completely different types of cocktails. So it really opens the door into.
Do you
lots of
find
different
yourself as a business owner or entrepreneur? Do you find yourself looking at what the competition's doing
Oh,
and
definitely.
seeing their marketing
Of
and what
course,
they're
yeah.
doing?
Getting angry.
We do, but I feel like I don't know. Competition's good because one, it's educating the customer
Right.
more. The more they see out there, the more they're gonna be looking for it. But then also, it's just because there's competition per se, it might not be exactly the same target market.
Right.
So you just kind of have to focus on your path and what you want and what your goals are. And
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, because if there's a big, a commercial company out there that's selling this product, and then they do have commercials, they are educating the public, they're doing that all for you, and that takes care of the whole network marketing thing that we talked about. And now you have educated consumers who are going in looking for this, and now they see a couple different brand options, and now you have to just work on, the branding and how
Right.
pretty it looks on the shelf.
And I
those are
think
the fun
that's
things.
where we've done really well. I think our packaging is very attractive, and I mean, everything is all natural. So it's a really, high quality product. We use organic cane sugar. So I think we have competitive advantage in those things.
And
Now
people
could-
like our bottles as well. Like they'll buy it sometimes for the bottle and use the bottle as a base after.
So could Michael put it in his Monster and make it his Monster
Technically,
more
Absolutely.
natural?
Add a little cucumber habanero to that.
I
and add
don't
a
think
kick.
they understand
Add
how many of
chili.
these I drink a week, and it's always during these shows. As soon as they brought up that it was a flavor thing, I was like, I might want to dump some in here, because this literally tastes like a battery if I left it in the fridge.
It's probably just as acidic.
Yeah, but I mean, it keeps me hyped up for this show.
There you go.
When you're getting down
You're so
the
hyper right now. Calm down.
I know. I was listening to you now. I want to argue about multi-level marketing with you. I'm like, why would you even bring that up?
Oh.
So I want to talk about when you got the no, and you can't get into this one store. What was the method in which did you just keep calling them? And you're like, well, what about today? What about today?
Well, we have, we had an in with the buyer for their wine and spirits. Reached out, he said, send us some samples. We sent samples, we followed back up. Well, he says, I haven't tried them yet. They're just sitting on my
Because
desk.
he's a beer drinker.
He's a beer drinker, so he hasn't tried it. And we're like, yeah, so we keep following up, and then he just doesn't return calls. Well, then we have another person who knows and tries to connect us, and then we've tried that way, and then just saying, oh, I just really don't think this is a good fit. And so we've had trouble, but on a bright side, we also had been trying for years to get into Dorothy Lane Market in Dayton, which is where I grew up. And Dorothy Lane is like the Hills Market of Dayton. It's really nice high-end grocery. and they have 3 or 4 stores. And we tried. I went into the stores and dropped it off. We've called. I mean, every time I was in Dayton, my family would stop in and say things. You know, we were really trying to kind of hit them from all angles. Store managers, nothing. Well, Barb and I went to a food show for our distributor. First time ever we went, and we got him there, and I said, my whole family, everybody I know in Dayton wants this product and wants to see it in Dorothy Lane. And we were running a show discount, and so he took it, and so I think it's doing well. So yeah, they've reordered, and so that's been good. So and I think it was just that for us, seeing him there and having that, and because of the discount.
I think what we've realized is we can try for what we feel is the best places for our product, but if people aren't interested or don't, you can try for a while.
Yeah.
But it's not worth exhausting your time over, because there's plenty of other people that do want it. That let's focus on the customers that do want it and make sure we're servicing those.
I'm glad
well.
you said that, because when I was thinking about I go through this all the time. I'm sure Ryan does too. You're talking to the person that's supposed to make the decision, but basically, the more information you got out of them, that person was never going to try your product because they don't even care about it. They were beer drinkers, so they identify themselves as something different. It's kind of like we talked about White Claw and how that's all the madness, and that was really the Zima drinker, like 15, 20 years ago. People that don't adopt that early never get in.
Right.
So if that person is the person that's supposed to make this decision, it's okay. You don't have to be everywhere, but you got to identify the right person that's going to buy this product. They have to buy into it, right? Not just buy it, but they got to believe that it's worth it, because they're the person that has to justify putting it on that shelf. And this is more for people out there that if you have a product like candles or whatever it is, everyone's trying to find this big distribution chain. They want their stuff in the store. You got to talk to the right person, but you got to make sure they're the right fit too, because what you don't want is somebody that's squeezing you on price because they don't care about it. They've got to care about it too.
And it just has to be the right store for our product, because we're not made for every store. We're not.
It's a higher price point because it's a specialty item, so you need to make sure you have the customer that appreciates
and has some disposable income, entertains. So it's really, you're looking for a certain type of customer. So we're not cut out for every single retailer in the U.S.
If the retailer buys it, we want them to be able to sell it well. So we wouldn't want to sell into a store if we didn't believe that they were going to do well with it.
Well, you want the reorder, not just for the business, but that tells you that you've got a great product. If they keep reordering, if they stock it and they do nothing with it and it expires and they toss it out, they might not even really give it a chance. It doesn't mean they don't believe in it. They didn't give it a chance to work. As you move forward in this, I know that's a big open-ended question, but we all start a business and we think, if I can just get, if I can get one yes, and then you get 30 yeses a month, right? It's where you envision this going, and Ryan said something about your goals. I always look at where I want to be in 5 years from now, but it's every single day I got to work on this to get to 5 years. Do you guys look at that at this point, or do you just kind of say, we're just going to see where it goes?
There's lots of room for growth yet, I believe. We have, I think, a lot of potential. We have a lot of people out on the West Coast that have requested our product, but shipping to them until we have a distributor is just not cost effective. So drop shipping a case or two at a time is really expensive for them. So I think if we can work on getting distribution further out west and more along the East Coast, Southeast.
South.
I was gonna say West Coast. I lived in LA for 5 years, and
Ryan can drive it out there.
There you go.
I was gonna say, being out there, I mean, there's all kinds of products out there that I come back here to Ohio looking for, and they're looking at me funny, like, why? What is that? And out there, it's like super popular and it's real healthy and organic, and so it's a different market out there for sure. I feel like this would be something. Wow.
Well, I do think things are changing. Everybody wants to be healthier with their food and drink options. Like
It's
the
all
whole
education.
Yeah, but I mean, what I think is funny about it is, like you said, this has real sugar in it. It's kind of like that Whopper. It's like, it's a vegan Whopper, but it's still
Nice.
Well, I'm just saying, you're still putting 32 ounces of mayonnaise on the thing, so it's not really helping your heart, but it's a better choice than eating meat, some people say. You're in the same boat where you've got to defend what the product is from a health standpoint, but you shouldn't be drinking the whole bottle at one time, Ryan. But there is room for it, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's when you're going to make a drink with it, you're going to use anywhere between a half an ounce and an ounce. But a lot of customers approach us and they say, is this a lot of sugar in there? Well, it's made with sugar and water, so yes. And you know, but again, it's organic cane sugar. We are using all natural ingredients to infuse in it, so there's nothing artificial in it at all. So if you're gonna have your cocktail, I don't think it's a terrible option to mix with your vodka or your bourbon and enjoy something, and you aren't gonna
And
feel
you know
too
what's in it.
guilty. Yeah.
Do you go to any? Have you been to any of the bars out there that are really put together all the ingredients? Are they using the products? Do they like it?
We are in a handful of bars and restaurants. It's done really well at those bars and restaurants. It's a matter of finding the right niche market, because some of the real specialty cocktail bars prefer to make their own simple syrups
Gotcha.
in their unique flavors. And then there's some that really want that local all natural flair, but they just might not have the kitchen space or the time. Or if they have multiple locations, it's nice to have the consistency of flavor from location to location rather than having the local bartenders at each one make it. So it's a matter of finding the right ones.
I meant to ask, and you may have already said this, but is this full time, or do you working part time? Is this? I mean, do you have another job, or is this? Have you guys gone all in and quit your other careers and jobs?
We're both full-time moms, but we both have part-time jobs on top of this. But this, some weeks it's definitely full-time or more. I mean,
it depends on
Well,
the
it's always
book.
full time. I guess I
right.
meant, is this
Yeah.
like, I didn't know if you were working other places, and so this is, you're building this to try to make this be the one and only thing that you do.
that would be ideal, but yeah.
Well, and I think that's important for this show, like entrepreneurs that are out there listening, you can keep working and making money to pay your bills and rent and what your lifestyle that you need while you're out here working your butt off to build that dream. It's something you believe in. I think that's awesome. That's what this is all about.
I think most entrepreneurs think they have to stop everything they're doing and jump out. And you don't necessarily have to do that. But like you guys didn't do that. You started working on it gradually. And again, you've been doing this for 5 years, like you said, 5 years this month. There's been so much growth and there's so much more that can happen. But you're making it happen in really weird hours, which is really, I saw this quote, Ryan, you've probably seen this. The good people make it happen from 9 to 5. The legends make it happen from 6 to 10 at night. Right? You got to put in that extra time. Now, that wasn't on the Snapple cap. I actually read that on LinkedIn. But, when you think about it, the majority of everybody does everything the same time frame. Some of it is just setting up, like talking to distributors or sending out emails and all these things. But if you're planting the seed for the next day and the next day and the next day, it all kind of catches up where you can do it in the 9 to 5. If you don't, if you let it lag, you're always working that 9 to 5 and then you have nothing done. It's like doing half of a puzzle and then doing it all over again the next day. Did you like that quote there? That's a real quote.
I mean,
I just wrote it down for you.
And anything you do, you got to put in the time and effort and work.
Well, I mean, the way I said it was better, but
yeah.
So
I don't disagree.
So, your kids and your family's involved in this. That's got to be the thing that makes it easier, right? Because they're all buying in. They believe in this product. This is a family-owned business.
It's been
is.
super
It's a sweatshop
cool
over there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's
No,
like a Bartles and
they're-
James,
yeah.
and the kids are involved.
Well, but it is.
They're investing in their future.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's been so awesome because
Oh, I
my
feel
son
like she
will.
said that before.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've lied to kids too.
Sorry, I didn't mean
But
that.
my son he'll say, Mom, remember when you said you were just going to do farmers markets and you'd never be in Kroger? Now you're in Kroger. He reminds me that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know. We set very low expectations and then we exceed them.
That's what Mike does.
This is the model
Yeah.
of Barb and I's success. Is that we never think, and then our boys, who they're both freshmen in high school and they're friends, they have a fantasy that we'll buy a lake house and share it. And they can,
Yeah, it's been
That's where they
it's
wanna
actually
take
been
it.
a lot of fun
Yeah.
for them to be a part of this and for them to see, like she said, our expectations weren't much from the start. We were just kind of starting as a hobby to see what could happen, and then for them to be a part of that and see how much they see how much work goes into it, and they're seen as daily doing all these different things to make the business grow, but then they also see the reward from it, so they're totally
What a
seeing
learning
firsthand.
experience. Well, what's fascinating to me is even though you may say that or even think that the expectations are really low, for the average person out there that's maybe even listening to this, what you call a low expectation could be completely unfathomable for somebody else. And I think that's the whole point, is you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to take that first step. Martin Luther King.
Oh, that was really good.
There
Yeah.
you
I like
go.
that you're mixing in quotes.
I
So I
know.
give you a quote, and then you mix in the quotes in front of these people, so you make
That's right.
me look bad.
Well, I'm actually trying to look good.
Oh, okay, but I just want to say I
Cool.
said the quote
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
You're welcome. This is how the show goes every once in a while. So, tell people in the last couple of minutes your end game in this. Is it to be bought out, or is it to do this and pass this down? Do you want to be like the Heineken family and this stays in your family forever, or because Ryan will write you a check right now?
It depends on
And
which
I'll
of
turn
our
this
kids
into
you talk
network
to.
marketing.
Yeah.
Our youngest kids wanna take it over when they
Yeah.
get older, but I don't know. I personally would love to work towards being bought out
Yeah.
and have a little bit of security for the future with like invest that into college or.
So if you went on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban says, "Look, I'm going to give you X amount right now, take it or leave it," and you're like, "Well, I want to hear." He's like, "No, right now, tell me."
It would depend on what
It
that
depend
amount
on
Yeah,
what
was.
else there was.
I would assume what
Yeah.
that amount was. Like,
You know what I was thinking? This is the first time we've had people that work together in a business. Well, actually, the second time. The first people got divorced, so they don't count. But we didn't. It wasn't because of the show, I don't think. But you do have two independent people, and like you'd have to agree if one of you wanted out or both of you wanted to sell. That's a unique situation.
That's a
I'm
whole
not-
other show.
Well, I'm not looking at the
Yeah.
negative. I'm saying you have to really every single day communicate on what your goals are as moms and wives and all that. That goes into it too. But that's cool that you've made it this long and you haven't bitten each other's heads off.
Well, honestly, I think even just not just for the future aspect, but the current aspect, because there are some months or weeks that I'm just like, this is too much. Maybe we should think about selling
Yeah.
earlier or whatever. And we kind of bring each other down to a certain,
Yeah.
like we help mellow each other out and keep going on what our goals are at the
good
time.
teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could be. Yeah.
Ouch.
I quit. I quit.
You can't quit something that you show up to.
No.
Okay, this happens every week. I want to say, can we tell people again if they didn't hear the first part of the show, how can they just buy directly from you? So if they can't go to Dayton and buy it at that market, or actually they can't in Cleveland, how could they buy it directly from you?
Go to our website.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say farmers market. I meant say the website.
Well, yeah, route23.com, ROOT23.com. There's a lot of stores locally that they can find it too. So if they go online, go to our website, they can see those locations.
Google.
They can go to
Route
Giant
23.
Eagle as well.
Giant Eagle Market District.
Shout out to Giant Eagle, but we only want you to buy Route 23 stuff. And then Ryan, do you have anything before
Well-
we leave today?
At the end of the day, are you guys having fun?
We
Yes.
are.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
There you go.
I'm kind of
Fun.
amazed every day when something happens. We're just like, wow, we did this. Like,
That's what I got for you. Have
high
fun.
fives.
If you're not having fun, don't do it.
And that was by Martin Luther King. All right, that's going to be it for the 101 this week, brought to you by Whiteside Chrysler Dodge Jeep. We will see you next weekend.
Thank you.